Did you guys read Susan Warner's Wide Wide World yet? It's about the orphan girl, Ella Montgomery. She went through a lot of tough times, but in the end, she learned pity and self-denial.
Isn't that the author whose father couldn't support their family, so she had to write the book to raise money for them?
Yes, the plotline for her other book, Queechy, is very similar to what happened to her family. A real riches to rags situation.
That's what I'm reading right now.
That's so interesting. I'm glad that we can meet up to talk about this. My husband gets upset when I read. He says my place is raising the family.
Yeah. The Guardians of the Republic.
Yes, Guardians of the Republic. That's the reason why women need to be educated, so that we can pass on the ideals of the Republic to our children. We need to teach them to be obedient and patriotic and to stand up and fight for what's right.
Education of our children in schools has opened up so many jobs for women as teachers. My cousin in New York is a teacher.
Last night, my neighbor's husband beat her so badly for spending money on groceries that she almost died.
Oh my god, that again?
Money is tight with everyone. Just be glad it wasn't one of us.
I wish we lived a middle-class lifestyle with fancy rugs and heated rooms.
They have it so easy. They never have to worry about money.
They look down on us just because we have to work and we can't spend all of our time with our families.
They just sit around all day picking out curtains. Their husbands go to work and they stay in their place at home.
They can choose to have smaller families, and they have the luxury of not needing to beat their children.
Middle-class women are always talking about ways that they can get more equality with men through domestic feminism and other reforms.
My husband doesn't feel like he has any control over our family. The last thing he's gonna do is hand over any say to me. My husband says that my place is in the home and that my only purpose is to take care of our children and clean the house.
My husband says that too. He's the only one who can be involved in the public life because he's the one that provides the financial support.
Even though it's awful in the slums, those women have more control over their lives. They work and make money just as much as their husbands do.
But they neglect their families and they don't educate their children.
I guess we all have our own sphere, men in the public world and women at home.
At least that's what the magazines say.
I'm going to the convention where Angelina Grimke is speaking about the abolitionist movement. Don't you think it's funny how we supported the revolution, but the only people who are truly free are white males?
I wish I could go to the convention, but I'm already going to a meeting about building an asylum for the mentally ill. Just because they're sick doesn't mean they don't deserve to be treated like humans. My husband's upset. He says I've been spending too much time away from the house. Good abolitionist. Bad mom.
The protests are important, but I'm nervous there's going to be backlash from men. At Sarah Grimke's last convention, she was speaking to a crowd of men and women, and she was harshly ridiculed for it. The harder we fight for our rights, the more radical the resistance is.
Molly's right to be nervous about going to the convention. At Abby Kelly's convention, she was also speaking about abolition and women's rights, and an angry mob burned down the convention hall.
I'm not afraid to go. We need to show that there's support for women's rights.
Whatever's right for a man to do is right for a woman to do. Men should be satisfied with 6,000 years of dominance over our lives just because of a warped interpretation of a Bible story.
You sound like Sarah Grimke. I just read her letters on the condition of women and the equality of the sexes.
We should be grateful for the abolitionist movement. Fighting for African Americans' freedom, we realized that we didn't have our own. We have such a hard time getting divorces, even if our husbands are beating us and our children.
Our oppression is parallel with the slaves. We're fighting the same battle to gain our liberties, just like Sarah Grimke said in her letters.
I'm just done with Catherine Beecher and her domestic feminism. I don't need to accept my marriage and my place in the home in order to gain some limited power for myself.
It's just a way to show that you can do a job well, even if it's just taking care of your house and your kids.
I wish we lived in the West. There's more equality with men. We would both be doing the same work on the farm.
At least we don't live in the South.
She looks new.
Poor girl, she only knew what she was in for.
Oh yeah, I love coming to work in the morning.
The 12-hour shifts and the 10 p.m. curfew.
Hi, I'm Grace. I just got here from Maine. It's my first day.
Why did you decide to come to Lowell?
Well, I'm 19 and I wanted to work before I got married. I figured I could make more money in the mill than doing domestic work at my house. It's only temporary. How bad could it be?
Bad.
We work in the mill 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, with 2 short breaks a day, with the male overseer constantly watching us work.
The best part is the communal boarding house, all cramped together in the dark with no air.
Ha! Aren't you talking about the factory conditions?
Oh my god, it's really that bad? It's like all women here. I thought you guys would be really close.
Yeah, that's the only good part.
My roommate and I are like sisters. She's writing a poem called Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Get it? Textile factory?
I wouldn't worry about it though. We're all probably won't last long here.
After the wage cut strike in 1834, they started using Irish men in all the mills.
Why don't you guys just form a union to protect your jobs and get better factory working conditions?
We're all short-term employees here. We're only here until we get married. It makes it hard to create an established union. I'm so excited to be here at this convention. I heard about the International Anti-Slavery Convention a few years ago in 1840, where Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott became friends.
Weren't they forced to sit in the gallery and they weren't allowed to speak just because they were women?
Yeah, God, that's awful. Well, look at her now, leading her own convention.
Yeah, God, that's awful.
It should sound like I care a little bit more. Let's, okay,
Alright,
one more time.
take 4, go.
I'm so excited to be here at this convention. I heard about the International Anti-Slavery Convention a few years ago in 1840, where Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott met and became friends.
Weren't they forced to sit in the assembly and they weren't allowed to speak just because they were women?
Yeah, God, that's awful. Well, look at her now, leading her own convention.
We finally got our own Declaration of Independence, the Declaration of Sentiments, that Elizabeth Cady Stanton wrote.
Good. Now people can finally hear that men and women are equal and that we deserve equal opportunities and jobs and education and equal rights under the law.
And most importantly, the right to vote. I'm glad this is happening, but it can't stop here.
I hope there's more reform to improve women's access to higher education so our voices can continue to be heard.